weak human enters the arena. The crowd was loud, alien voices shouting, laughing, and cheering inside the grand arena of Corthan Prime. Thousands of aliens from different planets had come to see the fight. It was the day of the royal trial. The day when a challenger would face the champion of the Corthan Empire. In the royal box, Princess Valira sat with her maids. She wore a silver crown and sharp golden armor. Her purple eyes looked down at the arena floor. "This will be over in seconds," she said with a cold smile. Her champion was a massive warrior named Gortal. He stood over 8 feet tall with green skin like stone and arms thicker than tree trunks. Then, the gates on the other side of the arena opened. The crowd grew quiet for a moment. Out walked a man, small, thin, wearing light armor. A human, just a human. Laughter exploded from the audience. "This is a joke," someone shouted. "A weakling from Earth? He won't last 5 seconds." The princess narrowed her eyes. She had not seen a human fight before. They were a young race, not respected, not feared. The human walked forward calmly. His name was Jackson Hale. His face was calm, his eyes sharp. He did not carry a big weapon, just a short sword and a knife. Gortal stepped forward and roared. The ground shook. The announcer's voice echoed across the arena. "Let the trial of conquest begin." The champion rushed forward. He was fast, faster than most would expect for his size. He swung a heavy axe at Jackson, but Jackson was gone, already, moved to the side. The crowd gasped. Jackson moved like water, smooth and quick. He stayed close to the ground, dodging, stepping, rolling. Gortal swung again and again, missing every time. Then Jackson struck. A quick cut on the champion's leg. Not deep, but fast. Then another cut on the arm. The champion growled. Blood dripped from his wounds. Princess Valira stood up, her eyes wide. "How is he doing this?" she whispered. One of her maids leaned closer. "He's reading the champion's moves. Like a hunter." Gortal became angry. He rushed again, swinging wildly. Jackson waited. At the last second, he stepped inside the swing and jumped high. His sword flashed in the sunlight. A clean slice. The sword went through Gortal's neck and chest. For a second, nothing happened. Then, the champion fell split in half. The arena went silent. Even the princess said nothing. Her mouth was open in shock. Blood covered the sand. Jackson stood in the middle of it, breathing hard, his blade red. The voice of the ancient arena system spoke. "By Galactic Law 17C, the victor of the royal trial shall claim all honors and bonds. As the defeated was the champion of royalty, the victor now owns all rights granted by law." The crowd murmured in confusion. The princess stood frozen. Then the voice continued. "Princess Valira of Corthan Prime, you and your royal maids now belong to the conqueror." Gasps filled the arena. "No," the princess whispered. Jackson looked up at her, his face still calm. He said nothing. But everyone in the arena understood. A human, a weak, simple human, had defeated their greatest warrior. And now, by ancient law, the princess and her maids were his, not as prisoners, but as royal companions. The screen faded to black. The law cannot be broken. The royal guards surrounded the arena, weapons raised, confused and angry. The air was tense. The crowd didn't cheer, they didn't move. They just stared. A human had won. And now, the princess belonged to him. Princess Valira stood frozen in her place, fists clenched. Her pride was burning. She looked down at Jackson, still standing calmly in the bloody sand. "How dare he?" she whispered. Behind her, her royal maids, Elena, Sora, and Mev, were silent. They looked at each other, scared and unsure. Then came the voice of the Arbiter, an old machine-like alien who enforced ancient laws. It floated into the arena, glowing with pale blue light. "The law of conquest is clear," it said. "Victory in the trial grants all royal bonds. You are his now, Princess Valira." "Seu." Princess stepped forward and shouted, "I will not serve a human, this is madness." The Arbiter turned its head slowly. "It is not madness, it is the law of your own people, it cannot be undone." Gasps came from the crowd. Jackson finally spoke. His voice was calm, but strong. "I didn't ask for this," he said. "I came to survive, not to take anyone, but—" "You did take," the Arbiter replied. "By blood, by battle, by law." Suddenly, elite royal guards jumped into the arena. Swords drawn. They rushed toward Jackson. The princess gave the order. "Kill him! I refuse this law." Jackson didn't move. Then, a shockwave hit the guards, knocking them to the ground. The Arbiter raised a hand. "No harm may come to the conqueror. Not while the law stands. Not even from royalty." Princess Valira's face turned pale. She had just attacked a protected warrior. That was a crime. "Do you want your entire bloodline erased for treason?" the Arbiter asked calmly. She fell to her knees. Her voice was bitter. "This cannot be real." Jackson stepped forward closer to her but kept his distance. "I don't want slaves," he said. "I want answers. Why does this law exist?" The Arbiter turned slowly to him. "Because long ago the strong ruled the weak. The trial was made to stop war. One champion. One victory. One claim." Behind the Arbiter, the crowd began to whisper again. "A new ruler. A human. Is he the next king?" Suddenly everything had changed. In a dark room inside the royal palace, the princess sat alone, thinking. Her maids entered quietly. Elena spoke. "What do we do now, my lady?" Valira looked up. "We obey," she said, her voice cold. "But we don't forget." She stood, eyes glowing with new purpose. "If he thinks he's won, he has no idea who I really am." The camera pans to Jackson standing on a balcony, overlooking the alien city. He doesn't smile. He just stares, a human in a world that wants him gone. But by law, he owns the throne. The princess wears chains of gold. The royal palace of Courthan Prime was made of black stone and glowing glass. Its halls were silent now. Guards stood still, unsure whether to bow to the human or kill him when no one was looking. Jackson Hale walked down the hallway in silence. On both sides, giant statues of alien kings stared at him. He passed a mirror and paused. His armor was scratched, his face tired, but behind him walked 3 alien women, the royal maids, now bound to him by law. Elena, the quiet one with silver hair. Sora, the one who watched him like a hawk. Mev, the youngest, who kept her head low. None of them smiled. At the end of the hallway, 2 golden doors opened. Inside, on a high throne, sat Princess Valira. She wore royal chains, not of iron, but gold. Decorative, beautiful, but still chains. Jackson looked at her. "You called me?" he asked. Her eyes met his. Cold fire. "This is your throne now," she said, her voice like a blade. "You should sit in it." "I'm not here to rule your people," Jackson replied. "I just want to understand what's going on." She stood slowly. The maids bowed behind her. "You took my world with one strike," she said. "You don't need to understand it. You own it." She stepped down from the throne, walking past him. "Enjoy your victory, human. But remember this. Every empire dies, even yours." She left the room, her golden chains clinking behind her. Later that night, Jackson sat with the maids in the guest chamber. They served him tea in silence. He looked at each of them. "You don't want to be here," he said. Mev looked down. "We cannot leave. The law won't allow it." Elena added. "We are yours. Until you die. Or until you set us free." "Can I set you free?" "No," said Sora flatly. "Only the council can change the bond. But they fear you now." Jackson sighed. "I didn't ask for any of this." Sora leaned forward. "Then why didn't you walk away?" He had no answer. Suddenly, the lights flickered, a soft alarm sounded. The window turned red. "Palace lockdown initiated," a robotic voice said. "Intruder detected." The maids stood up fast. "Stay behind us," Mev said, pulling out a hidden blade. Jackson stood too. Then the door exploded. From the smoke walked a figure in black armor. one of Valera's personal assassins. He didn't speak. He just aimed a blade right at Jackson. But before it could strike, Sora blocked it. Blades clashed, sparks flew. Jackson grabbed a spear from the wall, fought alongside the maids. In seconds, the assassin was dead. Elena touched her earpiece. He was sent from inside. Someone wants you gone. Jackson looked down at the body. I have a feeling that someone wears golden chains. In a secret chamber deep under the palace, Valera speaks to a hooded figure. I tried once, she said. Next time I won't miss. The figure replied, Careful, princess. If the law sees your hand in this, it's not just your crown that will be lost. She turned away. I will not belong to a human. Above them, Jackson stands on the palace roof staring at the stars. He knows he's not safe, but he's not running. This law was made for a human. In the palace library, a dark ancient hall filled with glowing books, Jackson Hale moved quietly, his fingers brushing over alien symbols. Elena walked beside him carrying a small scanner. The shelves stretched high above them like the walls of a cathedral. I thought you weren't interested in ruling, she said softly. I'm not, Jackson replied. But I need to know why this law exists and why it picked me. They stopped at a sealed archive, locked behind silver crystal glass. Only royals can open this, Elena said. Jackson turned to her. You're royal now. So am I. Try. She placed her hand on the lock. The crystal faded. Inside was a single book, old, bound in black leather, written in both alien runes and ancient Earth script. Jackson's eyes narrowed. What the hell is this doing here? Princess Valera stood in the Hall of Judgment, facing the Council of Elders. The Arbiter floated behind her. One elder spoke. You cannot break the law. The moment he won, you became his. Valera answered coldly. Then change the law. The elder looked away. It was not made by us. Valera blinked. What? The elder leaned forward. The law of conquest is not Corthan in origin. It was written into our system 3,000 years ago by an off-world code, a species with strange logic. The Arbiter spoke. The law was designed to recognize human victory. Back in the library, Jackson flipped through the book. Inside were sketches, Earth soldiers in ancient armor, notes in 2 languages. It's a record, Elena said. This law was created because someone like you came here before. Jackson looked up. You're telling me humans were here thousands of years ago? Or just one human who changed everything? Suddenly, a sharp voice echoed in the room. You were never supposed to find that. Jackson turned. Sora stood at the doorway, holding a small blade, eyes serious. You should have stayed in your chamber, she said. Now you know too much. Elena stepped in front of Jackson. You're going to kill him? No, said Sora. I'm going to give him a choice. Sora walked closer, lowering the blade. Valera didn't just lose a fight, she said. She lost control of a prophecy. There's a secret reason the princess fears you. She held out a pendant. Inside was a picture of a human man who looked exactly like Jackson. He took it, stunned. That's not possible, Sora whispered. He came here 3,000 years ago. He did what you just did. And the princess is not who she says she is. Elsewhere, Valera stood before a mirror, removing her golden chains. Underneath, on her back, was a brand. An old symbol. From Earth burned into her skin. She stared at her reflection and said, You look just like him. But you are not him. You will never be him. Lightning struck outside the palace. Inside the library, Jackson stared down at the pendant, heart racing. Elena whispered, Who are you, really? You are not the first, but you might be the last. In a hidden chamber beneath the palace, glowing machines hummed softly. Ancient tech older than the Corthan Empire lit the walls. Jackson stood in the middle holding the pendant Sora gave him. Projected above him was a 3D image of the man from 3,000 years ago, a human warrior in armor, standing beside a younger version of Princess Valira. Jackson stared. "That's not possible," he whispered. "She hasn't aged." Sora nodded slowly. "Because she isn't just royalty, she's modified, enhanced to lead forever. She's immortal?" "No," Sora replied. "She's trapped, bound to a system she can't escape, just like you are now." Flashback cut in, 3,000 years ago. A human warrior named Captain Elias Hale, Jackson's ancestor, stood in the arena just like him. He won the trial of conquest, but instead of taking the crown, he vanished, and Valira was left behind, alone and branded by her bond to a human who never returned. Back to present. Jackson clenched the pendant. She remembers him. Sora looked at him. "You're not just a conqueror to her, you're a ghost, a curse, a second chance, or a second betrayal." In the royal garden under twin moons, Valira stood by a glowing tree. Elena approached silently. "He knows," Elena said gently. Valira didn't turn around. "Of course he knows. That's why he hasn't tried to own me. He's trying to understand me." "Do you want him to?" Valira touched the scar on her back, the Earth brand. "I want him to disappear, just like the last one." Romantic and emotional tension. Later that night, Jackson found Valira standing at the balcony, alone. The stars above shimmered like silver fire. "You lied to me," he said calmly. She didn't move. "No. I simply let you assume I was just a princess. You were bonded to my ancestor." She looked at him slowly. "I was his for 7 days. He left. I stayed." Jackson asked, "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I didn't want to hope again." He walked closer. "You think I'm like him?" "I know you are," she said. "Same blood, same look in your eyes, same way of asking questions before drawing swords." Then softer. "But if you're going to run, do it now." Jackson didn't move. "I'm not him, but I'm here." Their eyes locked. For a second, just one, they weren't conqueror and captive, just two people, caught in a war of fate. But before anything more could happen, twist scene. Suddenly, a loud boom rocked the palace. Alarms screamed, lights flashed red. Sora burst in. "The council has declared a purge. They're coming. They want to erase the law, and everyone bound to it." "Even you?" Jackson asked. Sora nodded. "Even her. The bond must die. With both of you." Valira turned to Jackson. "You still want answers?" He nodded. "Then follow me. There's one place they never wanted you to see." The camera follows them down into a sealed vault, deeper than any room before. Valira whispers, "You want to know who wrote the law of conquest? Then meet the one who created it. With your face." Cryochamber lights up inside Captain Elias Hale, alive, frozen, waiting. Jackson takes a step back. My God. The cryochamber hissed as frost slid down the glass. Jackson stared into the face of Captain Elias Hale, his ancestor, alive and perfectly preserved. The man who once conquered the Corthan Empire, and then vanished. Princess Valira stepped forward, her voice cold. "I begged them to destroy this chamber. They refused, said it was sacred." Jackson turned to her. "Why is he still here?" Sora answered from the shadows. "Because he never left. They imprisoned him. Alive. The law wasn't a gift. It was a cage." A screen lit up beside the chamber. Data scrolled in 2 languages. Alien code and human neural maps. Valera whispered. "They studied him. Used his DNA to build the royal bond system. That's how the law of conquest was born." Jackson paced the room, his hands clenched. "He didn't betray you. He was taken. Valera didn't answer. Sora activated a hologram. Old war footage flickered across the air. Human, soldiers, alien weapons, underground bunkers. Symbols that matched the pendant Jackson now wore. Sora explained. Elias didn't come alone. He brought others. Explorers, fighters, scientists. When the Corthans saw how dangerous they were, they turned the law into a trap. Make them kings. Bind them to pleasure, then disappear them one by one. Jackson's voice dropped. It was a soft war. They didn't fight us. They absorbed us. Valera looked away. I warned him. He didn't listen. Now you're repeating him. Jackson pointed at the frozen chamber. I'm nothing like him. Valera turned sharply. Then prove it. Don't fall in love with this planet. Burn it. Tension builds. The council moves elsewhere in the High Council chambers. The elders met in secret. The human knows too much, one said. The bloodline has awakened, said another. That pendant marks him as leader of the rebellion. We must wipe them all, start over, end the law. They activated a beacon. A signal went into space. A fleet responded. Purge Protocol 00 HFY. Target, human anomaly. Twist scene. Elias awakens. Suddenly, the cryo chamber lights turned red. Alarms wailed. Elias Hale's eyes opened. Jackson stepped back. The two men locked eyes. They were nearly identical. Elias's voice was cracked, but clear. What year is it? Far too late, Jackson replied. Valera stood frozen. Her past and present stared at each other. Elias looked at her. You still wear the crown? She didn't answer. Elias turned to Jackson. You need to listen very carefully. This empire, this law, it was never meant to last. Jackson asked, then what was it for? Elias breathed heavily. It was a signal, a warning. Earth is not ready for what's coming. From space, dozens of Corthan warships began descending toward the planet. The skies turned red. Valera, Jackson, Sora, Elena, Mev, and Elias stood together on the palace balcony. The fleet was here to end the law and kill the last humans who knew the truth. Jackson whispered, They want war. Elias nodded. Then let's give them one. Valera stepped beside them. For the first time, she wasn't fighting them. This time, she said, I fight with you. The palace shook. Corthan warships blotted out the twin suns. Screams echoed through the halls. Palace guards ran through fire. Alien citizens fled the city as drop pods slammed into the streets, unleashing elite purge squads. Inside the command room, Jackson, Elias, Valera, and the maids stood around a holographic. Sora slammed a blade into the table. They're not just here to kill, they're here to erase. Mev shouted, They're targeting royal databanks, ancient archives, everything tied to the law. Jackson looked at Valera. We need to fight back. Valera stared at the burning city. Her voice was quiet. No. We need to finish the war he started 3,000 years ago. She looked at Elias. You never told me what the law was really for. The truth revealed. Why the law exists. Elias limped forward, battle armor humming. The law of conquest wasn't just to bind rulers. It was a test, a hidden program, written into the genetic code of this planet's ruling bloodlines. It only activates when one species defeats another without hate, with purpose, with mercy. The Corthan were meant to evolve, but they used the law to stay powerful, not peaceful. Jackson stepped closer. So what happens if the law is fulfilled? Elias stared into his eyes. Then the system shuts down. The empire ends. All power resets. Balance is restored. But someone has to trigger it. Someone who wins, we know, but refuses to rule. Valera looked at Jackson. That someone is you. Middle scene. Final battle. Begins outside. Chaos raged. Valera's loyalists clashed with the council's purge. Units. Citizens rallied behind Jackson's name. The human who doesn't conquer for power but for peace. The palace defenses fell. The Council's army breached the gates. Inside the throne room, Jackson faced the High Arbiter, now controlling a massive exosuit of pure alien tech. "You are an anomaly," the Arbiter said. "You break our logic. You should not exist." Jackson smiled coldly. "Then you're not ready for humans." The final battle began. Sora led the maids in brutal close-quarters combat. Elias fought with raw, old-school, human tactics. Brutal, efficient, unstoppable. Valira and Jackson fought side by side, finally trusting each other. Together, they reached the heart of the law, a pulsing AI core hidden beneath the throne. But one final code remained. To I and the Empire, Jackson must give up everything. Elias looked at the console. "You can rule, or you can reset the system. You can have her, or free the galaxy." Valira stood beside Jackson. "If you leave, I will forget you. My memories are tied to the law." Jackson took a breath. "Then remember this. Not all humans conquer for power. Some of us conquer to leave the world better than we found it." He placed his hand on the console. The system glowed. The crown disappeared. The golden chains on Valera's body unraveled. The Empire's power grid shut down. Every law tied to conquest was erased. A new council leads Codex Prime. Peace talks with neighboring systems have begun. A statue stands in the city center, not of a king but a soldier standing between two worlds. Valira, now free and unchained, walks among her people. She hears a child ask, "Who was he?" She smiles. "A human, the last conqueror, and the first to walk away." In a distant outpost, Jackson Hale walks into the stars. The galaxy watches, because he didn't come to rule. He came to change everything.